Being a retro game reviewer, doesn't matter which platform, it was inevitable that I was going to run into this game. So here it is in my best Dr. Evil voice. We're going to review frickin' Lode Runner. I doubt that I really have to explain this game, seeing as statistically everyone who's owned an electronic device has played it at least once, but just in case, it's a 1983 game originally for the Apple II, written by Douglas E. Smith and published by Broderbund, back in the days when a single person could actually write a fully priced commercially published game. We're looking at the Macintosh version here, but really you can basically pick any platform and find a port for it. I am not even kidding. Take a look through the list on Wikipedia. There's systems I've never even heard of on that list, and I doubt that's even all the ports. Heck, there's even homebrew ports for things like the Atari Lynx and the TI-92 graphing calculator of all the things. So no matter what computer, console, or other electronic device you happen to have, you can probably play some Lode Runner on it. Hell, this thing probably got ported to a frickin' toaster at some point. As I mentioned, Lode Runner was and is insanely popular, so you probably already know how this works, and I'm just being redundant. If you've never even heard of Lode Runner before, I'm going to have to get the address of the rock you're living under to make sure your gamer card isn't a counterfeit. So you probably already know that in Lode Runner, you are a stick figure, and you are trying to liberate all the gold from all the other stick figures through the use of smart digging. Unless you played a more graphically enhanced version, in which case they're monks or robots. But those came later, so we'll assume stick figures in-game for the rest of this review. What you might not know about Lode Runner is that you are a galactic commando, and the power-hungry leaders of the Bungeling Empire have taken a fortune in gold from the people by way of exorbitant fast food taxes, and you're infiltrating all 150 rooms of the most inaccessible treasury in the freaking universe to get all of it back. No, I did not pull a plot out of my ass again. That is right in the manual. If I did make up a plot, I'd probably say something about stealing fine cheeses. Yeah, I know, stereotypical mouse stuff, blah blah. At least I would if it was one of the old color versions. It's all piles of yellow. You could be stealing mounds of cheddar cheese that look like stacks of gold bars, how do you know? Okay, cheddar is not a fine cheese. Colby? Gouda cheese? Eh, shut up. The original plot involves collecting fast food taxes in gold. Tell me how that makes sense. In the Macintosh version, it's chests with a dollar symbol, so less ambiguity. 512 by 342 was high-res back then, it turns out, even though nowadays it seems like you wouldn't even watch a YouTube video at that resolution. Unless, of course, you're watching a video about an old Macintosh game, like, say, you are right now. I do love that about old games. You can either make up your own plot or read the manual, back when games came with manuals, and plots could be wacky because they usually weren't important. I miss reading manuals. With graphics being the way I just described, you also had two options. Use your imagination, or look at the box art. I miss the crazy box art of these games too. It really is fun to look at, especially now with the internet, now that we can compare what everybody else got. Here's the original box art. It's kinda cool, but the pistol looks like a stereotypical sci-fi blaster rather than a driller, and the guards look like robots, and the protagonist is wearing that ridiculous yellow outfit with Starfleet Academy boots, but hey. Here we have the French manual cover with a completely different guy, some Schwarzenegger or Stallone looking dude with dramatic shading, and the MSX cover, which has it looking like you're actually shooting at things, along with providing a nice game of guess the perspective. Seriously, look at the guy's hand on the ladder. That looks really painful. Ugh, just look at this thing. This thing is like an MC Escher drawing in all the wrong ways. The Sega MyCard cover is better, but it still looks like Han Solo's little-known cousin or something. Hey, wait a second. What is that? There is a red R on his shirt. The Galactic Commandos are Team Rocket. Now I want a version where the player gets hit off screen when they die.
All of that hard work for nothing!
So much for the fruit of our labor!
Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again!
Also, all these covers have gold spilling out of their pouches, or whatever that green-colored treasure is in the MyCard cover. Then we have the weird PlayStation cover, which looks like some kind of, I don't know, anime Jack Black or something. And Lode Runner Online, where they're shooting a level that looks like it's screaming. And then the very Japanese ones. like Chibi, Battle Lode Runner, Famicom Lode Runner, Championship Lode Runner, which looks like a Mega Man boss, and Hyper Lode Runner, which is super misleading. Really, we have the guy directly shooting at enemies now, which you never do. We also have Lode Runner Bebop, or Legend Returns, and Lode Runner on Xbox Live Arcade, which apparently involves monks, yeti, giant robots, arm cannons, and robotic legs, and the Japanese Game Boy Advance cover, which is just beyond describing in words. Just look at it. Look at it! I wonder if a Japanese person would even know what's going on here. We also have the sound effects like DOS, 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 proving that DOS is indeed evil, and DOOM! Along with the guy stealing his hair right from Dragon Ball Z. Truly, this has to be the magnum opus of weird Lode Runner box art. Putting the very strange box art aside, you have a pretty unique puzzle platformer here. Though maybe not entirely unique with games like Hyankyo Alien, which I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of, sorry Japanese users if I still have any, and Space Panic coming before it. You can't directly kill your enemies in Lode Runner. No big guns, no jumping on your enemies, in fact, no jumping at all. Your advantages are moving faster than the guards that are chasing you and being able to dig holes in the ground next to you with your laser drill pistol. Once again, didn't make that up in the manual. You can't even dig directly under you either, making things even trickier, along with not being able to dig through some surfaces. You can plan your moves before you start a level, or pause and assess your situation though, so if you need to slow down, take a break, and think, you're more than welcome to do so. In fact, you'll probably need it. This game is hard, and that's not even getting into the additional levels like the ones from the 50-level Championship Lode Runner. That game was so hard that Broderbund used to send you a certificate if you completed it without cheating. Not sure how they verified that, but I wonder if anyone has one of those. If I did, that would be framed and hanging on my wall right now, and I'd probably be showing a picture of it if I could. One of the reasons this game is actually so hard is how extra lives work. You start with 5 lives, and you only gain an extra life for every level you complete. None of this extra life every 10,000 points or something like that. So losing a life is actually a big deal in Lode Runner. Oh, and by the way, this is a game where having 1 life means you're on your last life. Numbered life indicators are always so confusing, you never know whether 1 or 0 means you're living on a prayer. Actually, this lives indicator is also sexist. Men? Granted, the nerd demographic was very male-based back then, and still kind of is, but can't we have a female Galactic Commando option? But Tanara, there's no room. Wrong, watch this. Boom! I just made Lode Runner one of the first strong female characters in gaming. Take that, history! Oh, here's another fun thing to keep in mind as you play. Doug Smith is really only responsible for 30 of these levels. See, Broderbund gave Doug Smith $10,000 in advance to do the interframe animations, as his prototype sprites only jumped from square to square, and to expand the game to 150 levels and offered 27% royalties afterwards. Yeah, 27% doesn't sound like a lot, but self-publishing a game would have been oppressively difficult to do with any traction in 1983. That point aside, you know who designed the other 120 levels? The children in Doug's neighborhood with the help of the level editor, with the promise of money for the levels that made it into the final game. Yes, that means that's a 4 out of 5 chance that, if you're stuck on a level in Lode Runner, it's some kid in the 1980s to blame for your suffering, which means a child is outwitting you. You're welcome. Doug must have been a trustworthy person, otherwise this actually sounds kinda creepy. Hey kid, I got something I want you to help me with. In my house. I'll even pay you. Thanks to the combined efforts of Douglas and the children in his neighborhood, we do have some interesting levels here. We have hourglasses, a TV, a castle, math, a skyscraper, money, and a giant Lode Runner. There's also this level that doesn't seem so bad, at least not until you get all the gold. Run. Run while you can, Lode Runner. The guards are coming, and they have this for you. We also have Germany's coat of arms for some reason, and then we have, this. You know what's on level 69 anyways? Okay, phew. It's just another castle. Doesn't it make you wonder which levels were designed by Mr. Smith and which ones the kids designed? There are some quirks in this game you need to know if you want to have any chance of getting past it. You can go down through your holes, but enemies will get stuck, even if conceivably they could fall right through. Enemies can climb back out, though, whereas you cannot, and will get crushed to death by mysteriously regenerating bricks. Or are they bricks? Maybe there's some regenerating shield, this being the future and all? The manual calls them bricks, so whatever. If you get stuck, there is a suicide command, hit Command A. Thankfully, it's not some single key you'll end up accidentally pushing while you play. Though, what do? Laser drill yourself in the head? Can't do that to the enemy. Best not to think about it, I don't want to make Lode Runner morbid. Thankfully, getting stuck and running into a guard are the only ways to die. You can do things like, say, fall the entire length of the screen, no problem. Maybe the Bungeling Empire keeps their treasury on a low-gravity planet. The guards will also collect a single chest of gold if they run across one and carry it around. Digging a hole and dropping them in it is enough to make them conveniently drop it for you to pick up in your infinite bag of holding. In fact, killing guards in the holes and making them respawn at the top of the screen is sometimes the only way to get gold chests down to where you can reach them. Which makes me really wonder how the Bungeling Empire even planned to get to their gold if they were ever to actually spend it. The biggest quirk in this game of all, though, is that the AI is very unorthodox. It's consistent, but it acts in weird ways, like climbing back up ladders you're on when they could easily go down and just end you. It's not some straight line rush the player pattern, it's this weird, odd algorithm, and getting an instinctual feel for how the guards will act is required, especially for the championship levels. It's difficult to explain exactly how they act, but if you've played Lode Runner enough, you'll just start to know. It's a very strange thing to describe, but any Lode Runner veterans will probably know exactly what I mean. The one thing I don't like about this game is, well, you know how in a lot of games you hold a movement key to move, and when you let it go, you just stop? Well, in this game, if you hit a movement key at all, you'll keep going that way until you dig, hit another direction, or you hit an unused key. The spacebar is best for that, making you stop. You keep going even after, say, falling half the screen to grab onto a rail. It really throws me off. I've run right into the sweet arms of death before because I've never played a game that controls like this. Damn you, muscle memory! So, what happens if you do beat Lode Runner? Well, it just loops back around to slightly faster guards. No end screen. Ah well. Wondering how I beat it? I didn't. You can start on later levels, give yourself extra lives, or even skip a level mid-game at the cost of not having your score recorded. Meaning you can, say, practice level 145 without going through the 144 levels before it every single time, which is just another plus to give to Lode Runner, which is more that can be said for, say, Dark Castle. Even better, this isn't a cheat mode, this is available at any time, the penalty only coming if you decide to use it. But, all the quirks aside, this is, essentially, a thinking man's arcade game, and yes, it did get ported to the arcade, and if you've never played it, you need to. This one's a classic and an important part of gaming history that us Macintosh users happen to be able to share. Sure, a couple of other games came first that were similar in style, but this was expertly crafted, albeit mostly by children, and allowed users to do crafting of their own with the included level editor, one of the first games to do so. Which is why you've heard of Lode Runner and probably not the games that came before it. Computer magazines would run contests seeing who could make the best levels. It's a game that continues even to this day on modern smartphones. Douglas Smith achieved what most people could only dream of, making something that people still enjoy 30 years later. Even if it does piss us off sometimes, but that's just the challenge, and it makes us want to beat it that much more. This is Tanara Kuranov signing off, and hey, what the... Oh, great. Now there's fake bricks you just fall through. That's lovely. Hey you, yeah you, the person who's sticking around after the end of the video again. If you've already played Lode Runner and you wanted something new, then I have good news. If you read the description, like almost none of YouTube seems to do, you'll know there's the 15-level Gamer Mouse Special Pack available for download straight from yours truly. Enjoy!